Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching the Nile Cruise. Now we're going to talk about a very important topic, which is new ways to get youth to read. And at a time when it seems often complete with pages, some authors are writing the script literally by turning their books into cinematic experiences. Today we explore how young writers are using trailers, visuals, and digital media to use their stories to life and reignite a passion for reading among youth. And to shed more light on this topic, we are delighted to have with us engineer Ahmd Hossam Yakout. He is a landscape and architect, published author of Sons of the Sun, White Cows, and he's currently working on his third novel, Waves of Ashes, while also completing a master's thesis on architecture and narrative in Cairo. Thank you very much, Engineer Ahmad, for joining us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
I would like you to tell me more about how it all started with you.
Writing started with me early on in my architectural studies. I got inspired by studying architecture, specifically Islamic architecture, where I learned that architecture and buildings are not just about bricks and stones. There are many important factors to be considered. Like, for example, how a building can make you feel calm and collected, how a building can make you feel safe, how a building can make you feel connected to nature, like the skies above and water fountains and even the air breeze that was designed in Islamic architecture. And I actually remember back then I wrote my first short story. It was titled Qaid. It was about a theft attempt that happened at the complex of Qaid at the Northern Cemetery in Cairo. By the way, the Qaid complex is the one printed on the Egyptian pound. And I explored a vision where
the modern Egyptian pound?
Yeah,
the one
modern,
that we
the
use.
printed Egyptian pound and not the coin. And I envisioned a scenario where one of the residents tried to stop the theft, and I wrote it as an action thriller, a short story, and then I started later on to develop my own narrative voice through architecture and writing. I'm always interested in this intersection between storytelling and architecture.
Engineer Ahmad, what feedback have you received from viewers or readers who discovered your books through trailers?
Oh, they wanted it to be turned into movies. Like, I'm not sure if it's on the online videos, but I remember correctly from my friends who've seen the trailers. Like, they were talking to me like, isn't that a movie? Like, we wanted to see it as a movie, and I was like, no, guys, it's just a trailer for a book. But the other feedback that I got from people who read the novels and then watched the trailers was that how much the trailers were matching to the vibes of the books. So I had both feedback.
أنظر سرا لمن يسيرون حولي، يمسكون بهواتفهم ويقلبون بها إلى الأبد. كلهم يسيرون مطأطئي الرؤوس، كلهم يملؤون فراغهم بالتقليب في تلك التطبيقات الخالقة للمجتمعات الوهمية. ألا يسرح أي من هؤلاء القوم بخيالهم؟ ألا يتأملون فيما حولهم؟ ألا ينظرون إلى ذلك القمر البازغ في ظلام الليل؟ لربما إذا تحول إلى بطيخة حتى فلن يلاحظه أحد إلا إذا نشر على تلك المواقع ورأوا صورته. أضحك بشدة على ما أفكر به. كيف يمكنني لومهم وأنا من بدأ كل هذا؟
Engineer Ahmad, as someone trained in architecture, how do you apply design thinking when crafting stories or their visuals?
Well, the methodology that I learned in architecture school is some sort of a scientific methodology that you can apply to produce any sort of creative product. So it starts with a conceptual phase where you get to explore the main idea that you want to talk about, or basically have some sort of intention, define your intention, what you want to do and why. And then after that concept phase, you start researching the concept that you want to create. And it actually gives you this additional layer of refinement, like you get to learn from the past mistakes of people that tackle the same concept, like the one that you're trying to do, and maybe gives you a new perspective to the same idea that you're trying to write about or you're trying to design. And then after the concept phase and the research phase, you start to develop the drafts of your work, and then it goes back and forth. So it's very typical that when you're working on your drafts, you get back again to the concept phase or the research phase to adjust the concept or to research a bit of a specific topic that you want to develop your ideas through. And yeah, I think that applies to architecture, to writing, to graphic design, to cinema.
Yes.
So that's
and what's your advice to young writers who are starting to be writers to promote their work in an innovative way?
I think I'm a bit young to give advices, but
no, but you can give us tips.
Yeah, if I'm going to recommend one thing, which is to keep on growing.
Yes.
I mean,
never give up.
Yeah, that's a point, but also promoting work, promoting your own work, especially in the literary medium, is one of the things that is less thought by young writers. So there's no like specific recipe for success in the field overall. You have to first know yourself and know what you're trying to do and the value of what you're doing, what you're giving to the people, and you have also to know your audience, who they are you're writing for, and how to reach them and where. And then you keep on trying and you keep on testing new stuff and testing new ideas until you reach the formula that works for you. But it's very important to not expect fast results, because that's not always the case that happens. You just have to be patient and work on yourself and develop yourself, and someday you'll get there if you believe in yourself.
Yes. Engineer Ahmad, architecture and storytelling seem worlds apart to many. How do you see them connected?
For me, they're connected in so many different ways. For example, the methodology that I told you about that I used to write. But I think the first moment that I realized that there are architecture and storytelling are some sort of connected was back in 2010, I think, when I was about to start high school, and I watched the movie Inception by Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite cinema directors. And it basically, the movie talks about an architect who is played off by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his job is not the typical office job, which is to design buildings and stuff like that. No, his job is to build dreams in order to steal ideas or steal specific information from the minds of his victims. And he has to like design complete cities and design buildings and stuff like that. And then back then I thought that if an architect had this immense power in dreams, then it would be also beneficial to have such amazing power in real life. But then when I started studying architecture, I realized that architects do have these powers through designing real-life buildings. But then through studying architecture and learning about Islamic architecture and all the concepts of architecture that actually affects people, I started to explore more the part of storytelling and architecture. So, for example, right now in my master's, I'm interested in researching the intersection between narrative and architecture, and I found that it's not just about the methodology to write about, it's also about the structure. So both of them are somehow very similar.
Connected.
Yeah, so for example, the experience of architecture, if you're experiencing a building, you have first to approach the building from the outside, and then you go through a portal or a gate of sorts, and then you reach a lobby, and that lobby brings you to like an elevator shaft or a stairs, or then you would decide to go through a corridor or other spaces. And through these sequence of places, you get to interact with people, you get to have events, maybe you meet a friend at the door, maybe you have a meal at the cafeteria. So experiencing architecture is sort of an experience of a sequence of events or a
Yes.
sequence of interaction with characters. And that's basically the definition of narrative. Narrative is a representation, a sequence of events taking place in a specific time and place. So we can say that architecture is some sort of prose narrative, and an architect can be some sort of narrator. He has this ability to design the narrative experience that you'd feel that you would like to come back to this place. It's because of that design narrative. And when I researched deeper the topic of narrative, I found that narrative is so embedded into our ways of perception. So, for example, if I asked you who you are, you're going to tell me your name, you're going to tell me when you were born, where did you study, where are you living, what's your job. So you're going to basically tell me your narrative.
Yes.
And I believe that the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves as individuals and as communities shape us in some sorts and shape the types of architecture that we generate. So the intersection is very interesting and profound depending on how you look at it.
Okay. Engineer Ahmed, of all the characters and stories you have written, is there one that feels most personal to you, and why?
Well, yeah, my new novel, The Waves of Ashes, is the one that I would say the most personal to me, because it took me very long to write it. It took me like 10 years or something like that. I wrote it with...
Quite big time.
Yeah, very big time. I wrote it with my best friend back in college, Ahmsd.
Yeah.
And we were on and off of it, trying to perfect every single detail for the plots, for the characters. It's set up in...
What's about the story? Is what?
It's a futuristic dystopia in Cairo, set in a far future where the whole world is governed by an entity called the institution. And the whole world fell into ruins because of several wars and many violent events. And this institution, the first thing that it did to Cairo was to expel all the sick and poor people outside of Cairo, beyond the River Nile. So they expelled them to the lands of Giza, which is now the lands of Giza. And these people, the expelled people, were called the nomads. And then the institution fortified Cairo with a highly built wall. So it became like some sort of power dynamics between the city of elites, the city of power, the city of the institution, and the nomad city, which is west of the Nile. And then events happen between both societies, and they clash, and the story unfolds.
So why it's the most loved story?
Because it took me lots and lots of efforts and time
and the character
to build.
is, you have a character that's like you in the story?
In some sense, yes.
Yeah.
I believe a writer somehow projects bits and pieces of himself or herself in the characters that he creates. Maybe I can relate more to Rahaf, who is in Sons of the Sun, because she's an architect. But I don't know, maybe some pieces of my character could be found in other characters too.
Engineer Ahmed, what's your ultimate dream? Do you hope to design a city one day, or create one entirely from imagination on the page?
Maybe a mix of both. I don't know. I mean, I know.
So what do you like? What do you love? Architecture or story writing?
I love them both. That's the problem, because people always tell me, are you a writer or are you an architect, and how do you mix between both? But for me, it comes naturally to do architecture and at the same time writing stories, because they're both connected, and I like to write about architecture. And when I do architecture, I like to explore the narrative aspect of it. So I don't like to design spaces just for being beautiful or just for being looking good or feeling good. No, I like to have for the spaces that I design to have their own story and have their own special experience of sorts. So they are both connected for me.
Engineer Ahmad Hossam Yakout, thank you very much for joining us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, short break and we'll be back.